Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the playbook for Block. You know, the company behind Square and Cash App. They've laid out a really ambitious plan for the next few years, and we're going to break down exactly what it looks like.
Right. You see their products pretty much everywhere. But the real question is, what's the next chapter? How do they keep growing? Well, we're unpacking their game plan for you, pulling directly from their latest investor briefing to see how they plan to build the future. So, let's start with the big picture. Where is Block even trying to go? We'll look at their financial goals for 2026 and, maybe more importantly, how they actually plan to get there.
Turns out, this isn't just wishful thinking. They have a very disciplined three-step process for this stuff. First, they look at the past, projecting current trends. Then, they layer on all their new ideas and products. And finally, and this is the interesting part, they actually weigh the probability of each one succeeding. It's a really smart mix of hard data and strategic bets.
And here is the crucial point. Their big 2026 forecast doesn't depend on some crazy, unproven idea hitting it big. Nope. It's built on products that are already in your hands and growing, like the borrow feature in Cash App and all the Afterpay integrations.
Okay, so if that's the foundation, how do they build on it? Well, the first part of their strategy isn't some flashy new app. It's all about re-engineering the company from the inside out.
They have this term for it, functionalizing the company. So what does that even mean? Well, instead of having one engineering team for Square and a totally separate one for Cash App, they're creating these unified expert teams that work across everything Block does. The goal is super simple. Go faster and be more efficient. For you, that to mean quicker updates and features that just work better together. And this quote from their leadership really says it all. This isn't just some side project they're working on. They're saying it's their #1 priority. Period. So what's the bottom line here? It's a strategy to build a much leaner, more powerful company. The big goal is to hit some really impressive profit growth in the mid-teens by making their current team way more productive, not just by hiring thousands of new people. Now here's where it gets really interesting. This internal obsession with automation is actually spinning off brand new products. The tools they're building for themselves, these things called MoneyBot and ManagerBot, are literally becoming the foundation for new AI services they can offer to you, their customers. Okay, so that's the internal engine. Now let's look at their external push, how they plan to put their Square business into overdrive by completely reinventing their sales team. And they're not messing around. They're planning to build a 300-person sales force. The message is pretty clear. They're going after bigger and bigger businesses to bring onto the Square platform. But here's the million-dollar question they're asking, right? It's one thing to hire more people. It's another thing entirely to make every single one of them way more effective. So, how do you actually do that? And this chart shows you the core problem they uncovered. Their own data shows that sales reps spend half their time, 50%, on admin work, not selling. Think about that. That's time they're not spending helping new businesses get set up on Square. So remember that whole automation engine we talked about? This is where it comes roaring back. Their internal dev teams have one mission: build tools to slash that admin time and give salespeople their time back so they can actually, sell. So while automation is supercharging the business side with Square, they're taking a slightly different approach to get the fire going again in their huge consumer app, Cash App. Now, if you just look at the official numbers they put out, their forecast for new users seems, well, kind of tame. They're telling the public to expect growth in the low single-digit percentages. But, and this is a big but, you have to read between the lines. Their leadership was crystal clear about this. They basically said, don't take that number as our goal. In other words, they see that as the absolute floor, not the ceiling. Their internal ambition is much, much higher. And they have a few big levers they're ready to pull to make that happen. They're pushing to expand the apps network, they're targeting new groups like teens and families, and they're rolling out this really clever idea called neighborhoods. The whole concept there is to turn every single one of their millions of Square merchants into a way to get new Cash App users. Like, imagine getting a discount at your local coffee shop just for using Cash App. It's a brilliant way to connect their two massive worlds. So when you take a step back and look at the whole thing, you start to see two very different but totally complementary strategies taking shape for Square and Cash App. And this table just lays it out perfectly. You've got this two-pronged attack. For Square, it's all about landing bigger clients to drive big dollar profits. For Cash App, it's a numbers game. get more users, and make a little more profit from each one. Two totally different paths, but they both lead to the same destination.
Ultimately, their entire blueprint, their whole vision for the future, really hinges on this one massive bet on automation, using tech to work smarter, grow faster, and even invent new products. It leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If they pull this off, they might not just change their own company. They might change the way we all think about and use our money.